Good evening. You are connected to The Next Word. I'm your host, Chris Warnke, and tonight we have an amazing treat. We have an international legend, stage actor and theater and film, and Grammy-nominated person by the name of Michael York and his incredible wife, Pat York. They're here to talk about amyloidosis, a very rare disease which Mr. York is suffering from today. So, Mr. York, Michael,
Thank
what
you, Christine.
incredible. I wanted to say, actually, he epitomizes the word of pure class. And now, Pat, I can say that about you, too, since I've met you.
I found out what you would be wearing on the show, and I thought, well, I have to
know.
live up to this.
And I'm glad we all match. This is great. So I know, look, you are a legend. You know, you've done film, theater, many times Grammy nominated. It's remarkable, and everybody knows you. And I've always admired you for years and years and years. And I know now you have another new role in life, advocating for amyloidosis.
Yes,
today.
simply because it's not about me, but it's about the disease and the need to get the word out and awareness, because it's a rare disease. They say 1 in 100,000 people, and 3,000 people are affected in the U.S. every year. But I think, a lot of other people think, it's much more prevalent. And before it was, as I said, it was the Rodney Dangerfield of diseases. Got no respect. It was hidden in the shadows. Now it's out there. I think, which is good for all those people who have these mystery illnesses, especially where a cardiac involvement is concerned, that maybe by getting the word out to the doctors as well as to patients, that amyloidosis should be investigated, if there are insoluble problems. And
we thank you. And I know in reading about it and listening to you on Friday when you appeared at the National Press Club, it affects mainly men. Is that true? There's a prevalence of men, but again, I think these statistics are being overturned. Like they said, it was for people of mature middle age, but no, it's going right back into the younger demographic. So it's a lot more significant than people once thought. In scientific terms, though, it's actually proteins in your body. Yes. Coagulate. I mean, they come. That's right. Together, as you said, in a goobly gob kind of fashion, yes. Like starch does, right? Okay. Yes, it's from the Greek word for starch, right. Amylose. Yes, and that more or less describes what happens when these proteins, which normally the body, they produce in the bone marrow, they're used and they are folded into the shape that the body can best assimilate them. And then they leave, they're recycled and whatever. But these proteins misfold. They get stuck. And they start accumulating to toxic levels in key organs like the heart, the lungs, the kidneys. In a way, I was very lucky because I first, I had manifestations of it in the soft tissue around the eyes and in the throat. My voice changed. It becomes hoarse. Yes. And so getting a diagnosis of a rare disease can be very difficult, and you're very lucky if you get it. And that's why I'm endlessly, and thank you for allowing this opportunity. Thank you. It's our honor. To get the word out. Well, absolutely. And now, your other huge advocate on this is your beautiful wife, Pat, yes. Who in her own right is amazing. Well, I don't want to hog the interview, but I have to say that it was Pat who saved my life. Yes, so Pat. By not taking no for an answer when, people would say it says, and just beavering away until she got an answer that made sense. Which is incredible, yes. So Pat, we owe you. So, I owe you. Yes, so that journey started, in 2009 with Michael? 2009? About when you started to get symptoms?
Or was it 8? It was actually when President Obama, we were here for his inauguration, and we were staying with a wonderful friend of ours, Bill Hazeltine, a scientist. And he noticed what I had been noticing, this kind of discoloration around Michael's eyes. And he said, I think you should see someone that I know in Los Angeles. And this person in Los Angeles, actually, we didn't meet him, but he suggested another doctor. And Michael was misdiagnosed for a long time. And as it mimics so many other diseases,
Right. Yeah, that's true.
this is why
it does,
Michael
yeah.
wants to get it out so much, because so many doctors
Right.
don't even know anything about it. And if they see it in a patient, another doctor who knows about amyloidosis would recognize immediately.
Right.
Another doctor wouldn't know what it was. And they would have endless tests and still not know.
Yeah, but it is a great actor's disease. It
Yes.
mimics
It
other
does mimic,
conditions.
because some of
yeah.
those symptoms are like numbness of your feet,
Yeah.
numbness of your hands.
Yeah.
I mean, fatigue. I mean.
Yes,
yeah,
a lot
so-
of very...
Michael hardly showed any fatigue because he never stopped working. It was quite extraordinary. And to begin with, when he went to these doctors in LA and New York, and they suspected multiple myeloma much more, they didn't find enough for him to be treated to begin with. And and then one doctor we went to finally thought that Michael should be treated, and we went in, and the first thing he said, well, you've got 3 to 4 years to live. He didn't, and I got so
Yes.
upset about it. And I said, you'll never start like that. And then he went on to say, unless. And, this is such a bad way to treat
wow.
a patient. And I had a wonderful doctor,
Bedside manner.
a wonderful doctor who actually misdiagnosed Michael, gave me the name of this brilliant doctor, Robert Kyle, in Mayo. I called him and we started a friendship. And he diagnosed Michael the same as the naturopath had on the phone.
Unbelievable.
Also seeing my blood work.
And
where it
seeing
was
your
quite
blood work.
clear, because it's
Yes, yeah.
it's a light chain disorder. In the blood, this is the key marker. There are heavy chains, light chains, and it's
Right.
the light chains that start going crazy.
Okay. Right.
So that's why it's the primary amyloidosis affecting 85% of sufferers is AL. A
Right,
for
AL,
amyloidosis, L for light chain. And there
Okay.
are others, the familial, there's a senile related one very close to Alzheimer's.
Oh, is there? Oh, wow.
Yes. So again, all due to the deposit of
Of these
Oh,
proteins,
Greek.
abnormal, these
Yes.
Greek abnormal proteins.
Yes.
Right, okay.
and
Well, I want to say how great Mayo has been.
Yes,
Well,
they are.
clearly.
And there was a
Yeah.
Dr. Gertz, whom I like to ask questions, and it might annoy a lot of people, but I'm constantly asking him questions on the email. He even, on LinkedIn, he started this whole thing. And I mean, it's so wonderful to have
Yeah.
someone I can ask my questions and get an immediate answer. And I'm so grateful to him for that.
Well, they're fabulous. Mayo is.
Mayo is
Yeah, Dr.
for me.
Maury Gertz, his name is.
Yeah,
Maury
and all the
Gertz.
doctors there, my doctor, Angela Dispensieri, too. I mean, now these are the people who go out to talk about it in
Right.
the, to amyloidosis communities, these grassroots organizations. They all went a few months ago to Uppsala in Sweden, where there was an international conference,
Really?
because this is an international disease and research is being done all over the world. So they all went to pool their information. So the next, stage, and there are now, one of the ways of treating amyloidosis is chemotherapy.
Right.
But I was also a candidate, and it's how many the percentage for stem cell?
Well, not that many, but Michael was younger than his chronological age.
Right,
yeah,
but this came out in the
Amazing.
with the naturopath,
Right.
and also because of his tests. So they said he sailed through it. It's an
It was a
autologous
Oh, it's
Stem
stem
cell.
cell,
A stem cell, which is
using his own
phenomenal.
stem cells.
Yeah.
Right, because I was going to say there are different treatments, but Essentially, it's chemo.
This is, I mean, it's
and some medications with it.
medication, but the stem cell,
Was
where
what?
you basically shut down the old system, cut it off, and you get these little stem cells,
Right.
and you know, when you have no immune system, they put these little darlings back, and they recreate hopefully
Wow.
a fault-free
Right.
immune
Right.
system.
So since your diagnosis, which was what, 2012, 2000?
That was the operation. Yes,
That was the
it was actually
operation.
probably the same year.
Same
yes.
year. That was the
Yes.
operation list. Okay.
No, and diagnosis.
Right,
I didn't wait
diagnosis.
around.
You didn't wait around. Yes, no.
The
I can tell you
correct
amazing.
diagnosis.
And you're in remission. Knock on.
Well, yes.
Bless
Yes, and for which I'm very grateful. We were able to
Wonderful.
resume our life. We were
Yeah.
traveling. We were
Right.
doing this. I was even
Amazing.
performing. But there are signs of it coming back. But I have to say, the marvelous thing in this 3 years of remission, there are now new resources for curing it.
Great.
Not curing, dealing with it.
Dealing with it.
I believe in cure.
I'll say
You
the
believe in
word
cure, yes.
Yes.
I can tell Pat. We put Pat on this. She's on a mission, and she'll get it done.
I
No,
think
when you-
if she has anything
to do with it?
there will be a cure.
What? Yeah, right. There'll be a cure. I love it.
But this wonderful company called Prothena is actually, for the first time, they have clinical trials with a drug that is just for amyloidosis.
Oh, that's great. Oh, wow.
Otherwise, you use the same drug for multiple myeloma.
Right, okay.
And the same work is being done in Britain
Is it? Okay.
at the National Amyloidosis Centre.
Oh, so there's
The
an
Royal
amyloidosis
Free
center.
Hospital.
Oh yes,
And
oh yes,
okay,
at the
interesting.
Royal Free Hospital, where in fact their work, Sir Mark Pepys has a scanning machine. You get in it and you'll find out where your amyloidosis is.
Because it could be different parts of organs of your
Yes,
body, whether it's
yeah.
the
yes.
liver, the kidney.
Yes. So so it's very exciting
fascinating.
that there are, you know, and elsewhere.
Or elsewhere. So it is
oh,
an
yes.
international disease. So
Oh,
it's not just
completely, yeah.
completely. So it's not just, let's say, in in certain communities, like in the
No,
the
in
British
fact,
or
Italy.
Gianpaolo Mellini from the University of Padua, you know, he's very much involved with his great research being done there, you know, in Europe.
in Europe. And I know, of course, the foundation, you've started it, it's the foundation in Milwaukee, which I know you've had a hand in.
Well, yes,
kind of
you know, there are
Pushing it
these
to the,
big major foundations, the Amyloidosis Foundation.
right.
Go online with them, they have everything.
So they have www.amyloidosisfoundation.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and another called the Amyloidosis Support Groups, which is tremendously proactive,
Which is
organized
so
by a
important,
remarkable
which is so
lady called
important.
Muriel Finkel.
Okay.
And so I know that she would be as grateful as I am to you for
Oh, absolutely.
just
Well,
for this.
that's what we're all about. But we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back. I do want to talk a little bit about your acting and your photography.
No,
We're
but
gonna take a
also
little bit.
I loved the thing I didn't answer about the organization in Milwaukee.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Okay.
We'll get into that. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll come right back. You're watching The Next Word. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving. Why? What did I do?
Not enough. The pressure's too much. I quit. I get it. I can do better. Just please don't leave.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
Welcome back. You're watching The Next Word. And tonight we have Michael York, who is an international legend in film, stage, and Grammy-nominated individual, and his beautiful wife, Pat York, who, in her own right, is an amazing photographer. So, Michael, I mean, all left that aside. Of course, we've been talking about amyloidosis and what you've been suffering from, and I want to talk about your foundation.
Yes,
you
this came
really
up.
catapulted and started, and
It's
very exciting.
Yes, it's a friend of mine, Paul McComas. We were working together on a sequel to Logan's Run,
Right, Logan's Run is right.
the sci-fi film, and we had to, these things take time. But he said to me, and I said to him, look, I know you want me to record this, but I don't think my voice sounds as it did. He said, well, tell me about this illness. I said, oh, no, you won't have heard of it. It's called amyloidosis. He said, my best friend died of it.
Wow.
So he got very involved. And he also had a foundation that he administered. He said, I think we can put some money your way, but it has to be a doctor in Wisconsin. So we looked around, and there at the Medical College of Wisconsin.
Very good school.
Yes, wonderful doctor. Dr. Hari. He has a first name, it's Indian. I always forget it, so forgive me.
So Dr. Harry.
Dr. Harry, yes. And so we called the foundation after a Logan's Run buzzword, which was renewal.
Love it.
And so there, based at the MCW, is renewal, which is a resource for, amyloidosis research, treatment,
That's great.
whatever.
Which it is.
Yeah, already the
Renewal
results
result.
are coming in. So
Wow.
any donation would not go wasted.
So if people do want to donate, they want to help, if they go to your site?
No,
Michael,
they go
you'll-
to theirs.
They go to
At
theirs, which is
MCW Renewal, yes.
Renewal. So
And they're,
www.renewal.
Oh, MCW,
Or
I think will
MCW,
guide
okay.
you there, yeah. I don't know, I haven't tried
But
it.
based, you haven't tried it? Based in headquartered in Milwaukee, okay.
Yes,
Okay. So that's, okay, so that's
but
wonderful.
tomorrow the world.
Tomorrow the world,
Yes.
right, I can see that, I can see that. And Pat, speaking of the world, you photographed all over the world. Tell us about one of your first assignments.
Well, I was a writer. I started my work at Vogue, and
Vogue.
then I became the travel editor of Glamour.
Wow,
And I
that's
had
a
a
good job.
wonderful editor-in-chief who let me travel all over the world. And then one of the trips I took was with David Bailey, and I bought a camera in Japan. And we had to go to the Ivory Coast, Spain, Portugal, and Paris. So he gave me lessons, and when I got back to New York, I showed Alex Lieberman my work, and he said, we're never sending you out with a photographer anymore. So my first assignment was Teddy Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, and Mayor Lindsay.
Unbelievable.
And so from there, and that's how I met Michael. A couple of years later, I was given an assignment to go to photograph Raquel Welch in Spain, Tom Stoppard in London, Albert Finney, and a new young hot actor called Michael York.
A new young hot actor, which we all know. Yes, all right.
And that's how that was.
And that's how you met. And
that's how we met.
And then.
And a year later we were married.
And a year later we married, and 48 years later you're sitting here.
Yes,
So
we've been
we-
married 48
Wow.
We
years.
think it might work. If
And
we
it
give
I
it
think it
give it a
works.
bit more time.
Give it a
And
more
we
time.
we decided always to stay together. So when Michael does his films,
You go.
I go and I photograph, and then when I have my exhibitions or other assignments, he comes with me. So it's been wonderful that we can stay together and work together.
Absolutely, which is
Yeah.
I have to say, can I give a plug for your incredible exhibition,
Yes,
which
let's
is
talk about that.
just opened at the West Hollywood Library.
Oh wow, West Hollywood Library, wonderful.
It's called Worth 1,000 Words,
Ah.
and it's portraits of writers and artists. And it's
must
quite terrific.
Yeah, you must have an amazing collection of the people you photographed. I mean,
Yes, I did one book called Going Strong, and the youngest person was 75, the oldest 103, and they were all working full time. And I
103.
photographed and
I want
interviewed
to talk
them.
to that person.
And President Reagan's in that book.
Oh my
yes.
God, amazing.
And there's quite a few people from Washington are in the book, and they were all ages, and not all ages, all income, amounts of money they made, and I loved. They were like people in their 30s. They had so much vigor, and here they were working. All,
Is that the secret to life? Just to continue to work? I
Yes, like George Burns is in, and he said I'd be dead in 6 months if I stopped working.
think. Right.
And George Abbott was the oldest person in it, and he was doing a play off Broadway in 103.
Well,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And
But
of course,
there's everyone from Tennessee Williams to Andy Warhol in the artist section. It's quite
so
extraordinary.
that's how you met Tennessee. So how did you meet Tennessee Williams? Let's go back because I know.
Oh, Tennessee Williams. Well, I was asked to do a play of his
That's what
on Broadway, and what an honor. It didn't quite work, but the great thing is that we took the play on tour, so we were living in each other's pockets. And Pat saw a great deal of him too, because I wouldn't eat before the show, so he would take Pat out for dinner.
Every night,
love it.
yeah,
Every
it was
night.
fantastic.
That's right. What a story.
So, and he became
What amazing
and remained a
experience.
great friend. Yeah.
But he got a fantastic review in D.C. and
on Tennis of the Tennessee
on
Williams.
for Outcry, and he said, "This gives me the courage to continue," and so he needed that, you know.
Unbelievable. And of course, in D.C., you performed in My Fair Lady at the Kennedy
Briefly
Center.
at the Kennedy Center, yes.
Right, which was one of my favorite all time, of course.
Oh, yes.
Plays and.
That was
Well,
you should say how amazing that was, because 10 days before, he had this incredible detox, and
I was in deepest Brazil. I was so fascinated with the whole idea of healing. You know, I wanted to embrace the whole thing, from alternative to orthodox and whatever, because I was convinced that no one had the answer, the complete answer. You know, so that's what I did.
Incredible.
So one of I'd heard about John of God, a Brazilian healer. It kept coming up. I don't know why. I couldn't ignore it. And I met him in Toronto, and he said, "You're healing well, but I think I can help you. Come down to the Casa in Abadiânia." And so we did. And then it just coincided. Oprah Winfrey had just been down there and done an interview. So suddenly, from being, you know, not obscure, but you know, he was
international.
People were beating a path to his doors. And it was. I had, you know, the most amazing thing. I was in this huge temperature, going through what must have been a detox, and I said to João, to John of God, he didn't call himself that, by the way, others did. Look, I hope this isn't totally frivolous, but I've got to give a performance at the Kennedy Center in Washington in 10 days' time. Can you help me? And he was very sure, yes. It's not frivolous. And it was amazing, stepping onto the stage and, you know, feeling, I was back in my profession.
Right.
And singing and dancing.
Yes, so
and you were singing and dancing.
I couldn't believe it, yes, but I did.
So you were so gifted in so many ways. You have a voice, you have, acting. And
well, I had thank God the voice came back.
Yes, yes, I know you had them. Right. One of the symptoms.
Well, as you can hear, it's
hoarse.
still not fully
Yeah,
back.
right,
But hey, I'm very happy.
But you've had a lot of Grammy-nominated songs.
I've been very
Which
lucky.
we don't know about. I mean, you know, it's something that, I mean.
I mean, it's very nice to get a pat on the head, but the best thing, I think, for most people, any performer, is the ability to have another job.
Right.
Because there's no guarantee of anything.
Right.
You sign on as an actor. You don't. There's no contract that
There's
you'll
no
be doing this and then.
Forever and ever.
You know, you sort of. I like that. I like the unknown quality that you don't
But you should
really
say
know what.
he just finished another Simpsons.
I was going to say The Simpsons. Oh my God, because that's like, yeah, I love it.
True fame, and they're fun to do.
But, and you always wonder who all these voices are behind these, these characters. I mean,
Actually, he records it on Wednesday and has a cataract surgery on Thursday.
Unbelievable. Oh my God, you have cataract? Oh my God.
Well, you know, they're caused by all the drugs, unfortunately.
Yes,
but,
right.
Hey, I'm here.
You look great. I mean, listen, you're our superhero.
But he didn't take any drugs for over 3.5 years
Which is
after
wonderful,
the stem cell transplant.
Which is wonderful. So we talked a little bit before about Ariana Huffington. Of course, you know, one of the questions I had for you the other day at the press club was the fact, you know, she's taking off and not doing the Ariana Huffington Post, but she's going into she has a whole new business venture in healing and wellness and health.
I was so interested.
Fascinating. And, you know,
so Ariana, if you're listening, do get in touch. We've been friends since London. I mean,
that's right, because you went to Cambridge, you went to Oxford.
Yeah, I went to Oxford, yeah. And I admire her. I mean, I love all these incarnations that
she's
Ariana
amazing.
gets into.
Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Yes, she is. Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, she's, you know.
Well, these Greeks are.
Well, the Greeks, we have it in our blood. You know, they keep reincarnating. We keep reincarnating. We coined the word reincarnation. You know,
yes.
It's, and so no, she's remarkable. And I know she's in Los Angeles. So.
She was, but I don't. I think when she
has a house
in
New
New
York,
right. because she goes back and forth. But so going into film now. This is the question I have to ask on you, because you've had so many roles. I mean, you had Austin Powers, the Three
behave.
Musketeers, which of course everybody, and of course Cabaret.
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
I've had one or
group of
two really
colleagues.
juicy roles that people seem to remember. You know,
What are your juicy roles?
well, in Romeo and Juliet,
Oh,
I
Romeo and
played
Juliet, right?
Jesus of Nazareth. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's so wonderful to be
Right.
entrusted with these great parts. And you know, Murder on the Orient Express, Austin Powers,
Murder on the Orient. Oh my God!
which was extraordinary because every role was taken by a humongous star. So the first day, no work could be done. We just went around, you know, being starstruck. Then we had to get on with it.
You get on with the
Yeah.
business on. But what a life! I mean, you know, and you started. When did you start acting? When you were
Well,
in college?
I was very fortunate to belong to a company called the Youth Theatre, which had been started in England. And so I spent my vacations playing Shakespeare in the West End and touring Europe with Shakespeare.
Wow, what a...
And then at university, I went to Oxford, where you know we took it very seriously. There were classic plays, modern plays. In fact, I was up there with one half of the Monty Pythons, with with Michael Palin and Terry Jones, and we would do those sort of clever dick shows, you know, up at the Edinburgh Festival. So, but they were so clever to take that university humour, Dadaist humour,
Amazing
and you know, brilliant.
Brilliant. Now, and you come from a musical background because your mother was involved. Wasn't she in some way? Was she?
Not really, no.
Was your father? I mean, there's some music gene in there that wasn't.
Not
No?
as big a one as I would have liked. No,
Medical-
we're all businessmen and doctors.
Medical.
Medical.
Ah, your whole family was in the medical.
Yes,
well, that's
my
interesting. You've come full
sister
circle.
was a nurse. She ran a hospice. My brother-in-law's a doctor. My nieces, she's a hematologist at the Royal Free. So others were, you know, it's
Your
quite
grandfather
extraordinary.
too.
And my grandfather, Amos Chown was his name.
Really?
And he was one of the great, what's the word? At the hospital in Oxford. Isn't it stupid? Do you ever get stuck with
Oh
a
yeah,
word?
of course, all the time. Like more so lately.
For
fun.
for antibiotics, yeah.
Yes, and anyway, he worked on the first batch of penicillin,
Really?
which was used for
Yes.
healing with Dr. Flory. Yeah.
Right. And Dr. Salt.
So there is that strong streak of the medical
a medical,
profession.
which you're
yeah.
now carrying
Yes, now
carrying
I'm
on
yes.
in your new passionate role.
And it's wonderful because, you know, my niece, Kate, knows, you know, what dyscrasia is and what all these
Right.
things. So she was very helpful at the beginning to make sure I
Beginning,
was
yeah.
getting the right
It's
treatment.
wonderful.
Yeah.
What I loved about it, and I tell you, what you said on a week, last Friday, when you said, look, if I can save one person's life,
Yeah.
then that will be important to me.
That's, you know,
And thank you for that.
No, I really,
Thank
really
you for
mean it.
everything. And I wish we could talk more. We are out of time, but
Well, what a lovely
what a
time we've
wonderful.
had.
Yes.
This was a
Yeah.
wonderful time.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
No, thank
You're
you.
gonna come back. Get back to
Oh,
Washington. I want you
okay,
back.
yes.
So
Yes, I
you've
do.
been watching The Next Word. You can see us on Tuesdays at 9 and Wednesdays at 6. I hope you enjoyed the show. Good night.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean.